Okay, we're going to take a very quick look at Deco Studio, just enough information to get you going and using a few of the tools. So there's lots of things up here that we won't look at, but what we will look at is stitch types, selecting objects, and some of the tools. So with Deco Studio, you're given plenty of options to help you along the way to select new designs and products and emblems, or just generic designs. So it'll do presets for you with regard to stitch types and underlay. But I'll just run through that very quickly and just choose the defaults and click, 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 yes I am. So here you can see a work area which is divided up with a grid. You can turn the grid on and off by toggling it with your mouse. You can turn the ruler on and off, the same thing, just left click. If you right click on the grid icon, it'll bring up some of the properties so that you can set your horizontal and vertical grid lines. You can show the grid by turning it off here too, or just toggling the icon as I did a moment ago, and you can snap to grid and a whole lot of other things. Now I might mention here too, we should calibrate the screen, so I'll just do that quickly for you, describe how that ought to be done. And you need to do this if you're changing monitors or the first time you install your software. So it's under setup, calibrate screen, and what you need to do is measure with a ruler. So pick up a ruler and lay it over your screen and measure from this point here to that point there, and put that in the width box, and measure from the outside of the blue line to the top of the blue line and put that in the height box and go OK, and you'll see that the screen will be recalibrated and you'll actually have 10mm by 10mm squares. If you don't do that, you're going to end up with egg shapes instead of circles, etc. Okay, so this toolbar here is your stitch types. So you can see your satin, tatami, zigzag, e-stitch, motive, etc. So we'll just put that aside. And this little toolbar here, your view toolbar, you can turn images on and off. You can turn true view, stitches, your lines and your stitch points on and off using that. And okay, so the first tools here are, that's an object select tool, an edit tool, your Fusion fill or input D, input A, input C. And you'll notice when I wave the mouse over these tools, there's input A / settings, or the shortcut F4. So if the slash means if I right click, I'll go to settings, and you'll see the object properties will come up for that tool. So the preset settings for that particular tool will come up. If I right click on my input C, the properties for it will come up. And of course your running stitch and applique and your font tool. Okay, so let's start with our, at the top of the list, our Fusion fill, and I'm going to create a larger shaped object. So I'm going to select tatami stitch. Now I can right click on that to bring its values up. And there it is, tatami. So let's just go straight in and digitize a shape. So left clicking creates hard angles, and right clicking creates curves. So if I wanted to make a square, for example, I would just left click again, left click down. Now to try and get a perfectly vertical line, to help me, if I hold the control key down, you'll see that line jumps every 15 degrees. Click it again. I'm holding the control key down again. I just happen to be right on the grid line so you can't see it. Control key again and hit enter once, and you'll see that the shape closes. So there's no need to come back to the first point again. You go to the bottom of the square. The area will fill with cross hatching, which is telling you that this is the area that's going to be filled. And I hit enter again, and two suggested stitch lines come up. Enter again, and your stitches are created. So I'll just do that again with that tool, and left click, control, left click, left click, left click again, and hit enter, enter, enter. So 3 enters, and it'll create the stitches for you. I'll go and do it again. Left click, control. Well, actually, we'll do a circle this time. So let's go back. Right click, right click, and hit enter, and the shape will be completed. Now I'm going to cut a couple of holes out of this shape, so before I hit enter once again, I'll just digitize another shape inside the circle, and you can see the cross hatching disappears. Now I'm going to put a smile on them, so a left click for a curve, a right click for the bottom of the a left click for a hard sharp angle, a right click for the bottom of the mouth, a left click at the other side, a right click, and then we just hit enter. Now I've finished creating holes or shapes, so hit enter once again. It's going to come up with some suggested angles. I'll just accept those, hit enter once again, and there we have it. Okay, now if we want to change the shape, the color of any object, you just select it with the select tool, select the color, and then click off. So select the object, select the color, and click off. Now if we wanted to reshape any of these objects, I'll select it. Then with my reshaping tool, select it, and I can move any of the nodes that I used to create that shape. I can remove that stitch angle by selecting one end of it and hitting the delete key. I can even put another node on the shape, so let's go onto the line and left click onto the line, it puts another node in. I can drag that out. I can right click on an outside line on the shape, drag it out, so that right click was a curved shape, so you can add nodes even after the object's been completed. In fact, if I select the object, select the tool that was created with, you can see it's gone back into edit mode, and I can cut holes in it. It's changed the stitch angles, and those stitches will radiate around that hole to the edge of the design. Okay, so this is meant to be a quick, a very quick introduction to it, so that at least you can get going. So let's look at another tool. Now, our input A tool is used for generally for columns of satin stitch. Now, because it's satin stitch, you don't want the columns to be wider than sort of 7, maybe 8 millimeters. But the beauty of this tool is that you can vary the width of the column. So I've selected my stitch type, I've selected my tool, and let me select the color. So I'll select the color orange. So left click, and you can see that my column here is 6.71 millimeters wide. Left click again. I'm going to right click here, right, and you can see the column is 5.87 wide, 3.3 millimeters wide. I'll left click to finish this off and hit enter, and my stitches are formed, and you can see I've got a nice curved stitch line. Now they're bunching up here a little bit, so I'll come to my reshaping tool and drag that node back so that the stitches are flowing more evenly around the curve. I can also change the stitch angle. So if I don't want to change the shape, if I do want to change the stitch angle, I can use the stitch angle tool. So that's input A. Now I'll just escape to disengage that, and we'll move to the next tool. Now this input C, if I right click on that, it'll bring up its properties over here, and these are the default values. So the column stitch, this input C tool is designed to create columns of satin stitch. Well, it could be any stitch, but generally it'll be satin stitch of a constant width. So the constant width default here is 3 millimeters. I can change that by just typing in a different value, and let's go and digitize a shape. So again, we'll select the color, click, right click, right click, right click, right click, left click, left click, left click, left click. So it's just, we're digitizing a center line. We're not worried about, because it's a constant width, we don't need to do either side of the column, just a center line. And hit enter, and enter once again, and then we've got a column of satin stitch which is 2 millimeters wide, exactly 2 millimeters for the whole length of it. And again, if we select our reshape tool, we can add nodes by clicking on that center line, or pick old nodes up and move them. Okay. Escape to disengage that or deselect it, and we'll move to the next tool, which is really simple, exactly the same input method as the input C. So I'll just select it, I'll select another color, red, and it's simply a running stitch line. Okay, now if I select it, the properties for that are really simple. The stitches are simply 2.5 millimeters long. And if I drag down my view toolbar, I won't drag it down, I'll just turn the stitch points on, show needle points, and if I zoom in here by rolling my mouse forward, you can see the stitch points there. So you'll find that they're 2.5 millimeters long. In some cases they'll shorten up a little bit to make a curve, or just the first and last stitch may be a little shorter than the 2.5 mil, but that's the average of the stitches for the whole stitch line will be 2.5 millimeters. Look, we might leave the applique and the font tool for another session, but it's quite simple. Your stitch types, your digitizing tools, the different ways you can view objects. So we haven't had a very good look at that. We've looked at the stitch points and you can see them displayed there. I'll turn them off again, and you can see that the shortcut for that is the full stop or the period button. So I'll hit that on the keyboard and the stitch points will disappear. The first one is the true view settings, so left click that or hit the letter T for true view on my keyboard, and you can see that a true view simulation of the stitching will appear. Turn it off. I can turn the stitches off, so you can just see the outlines, the vector lines that we created with the tools. I can even turn the lines off. So don't be alarmed, we haven't lost the digitizing. All we've done is turn the image off, turn the lines off so we can't see them. If we have a look at our color object list, all the objects are still there. I'll just pin that into place. So I just turn it back on. The shortcut is the letter S. Okay, I hope that's helped give you a kick start to Deco Studio. There's lots more to learn. Please go to Stitch Vault and join up and ask questions on the forum, and I'll look forward to answering them for you.